On today's show, some official awards are out. We'll discuss them and our reactions. Then some playoffs with a recap of the second round and semifinals previews. We're getting into it all here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Happy Monday and welcome to another episode of Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your co-host, Queen Mustafa. I write all things New York Liberty and Phoenix Mercury over at Venus Sports. I am joined by my co-host, Bradshaw Furlong. Bradshaw does several things in the world of basketball, but please tell new listeners what you do.
I work at TSN here in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I am the co-site expert at Behind the Buck Pass, a Milwaukee Bucks website. I am with RaptorsInsider.ca, and of course, I co-host this basketball podcast as well.
All right, before we begin, make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Women's Basketball wherever you listen to podcasts. Every follow, every subscription helps us continue to put out daily content. Okay, we'll start with awards. And we'll start with the one that I know has made all of us on this here podcast very, very happy. Sylvia Fowles gets her 4th Defensive Player of the Year award. Bradshaw, we are Sylvia Fowles fans here on this podcast. How are we feeling about this?
Ecstatic. I mean, we got a tease when she won the AP Defensive Player of the Year, and I'm like, oh, that's great, but I want the real thing. I need to make sure the WNBA didn't mess it up. AP was all right, cool. AP did what they needed to do. I wanted to make sure the actual award went to her, and I was so happy. I was so obviously, I've been very effusive of my praise of Sylvia Fowles this season, and in the past as well. Just how incredible she is. I mean, obviously, to win 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, you have to be pretty damn good. Winning it in her 14th season, just absolutely ridiculous. Again, I said this last week, but we talked so much about how crazy it is that, Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi, and we'll get to them later in the show, obviously, but what Sylvia Fowles is doing at her age, at 35 years old, and winning a Defensive Player of the Year, and averaging almost 2 blocks and 2 steals a game, averaging over 10 boards, just the anchor of that Lynx defense. And again, we'll get to the Lynx a little bit later, but just what she did this season was absolutely incredible. And I hope we get to see her continue to do this for a long. I want to see her go for 5. She got to go for 5 at this point. I want to see it. I want to see 5 in year 15. Let's do it.
For sure. She's an absolute monster on defense. It's been very conflicting to watch her this season because I absolutely love her so much, but when it's against her team, not so much. But she definitely deserves this award. She also made the all-defensive first team, which joining her was Jonquel Jones, Brianna Turner, Brittany Sykes, and Breanne January. And then we have our second team with Brianna Stewart, Brianna Jones, Brittany Griner, Jasmine Thomas, and Errol Atkins. I feel like I'm saying Brie or 10 times in some form. But how are we feeling about these 2 lists? Are there any snubs, things you would change?
I think the biggest one, I think everyone's pointed it out to this point, is I'm surprised A'ja Wilson didn't make it. I think that's a bit of a surprise. I think it's a bit of a surprise. I know the Sun, we talk about how great the Sun are. I think it's a bit surprising they got 4. And again, the Aces had the second best defense, and they didn't get a single person on this list or on either team. So it's a little surprising to me that this Aces didn't get anybody. Raquana Williams could have been on here. A'ja Wilson could have been on here. I'm a little surprised, and no slander to the people who did make it, but there are some that definitely probably couldn't be. Definitely couldn't be on here just based on how they played this season and how I think some of these people got on more because of the team that they're on as opposed to their actual individual defense, whereas someone like A'ja Wilson is on a great team defensively but is also a very good defender one-on-one. A little biased, I could say Alicia Gray as well, but she had a very inconsistent season. I'm not too broken up about that, but A'ja Wilson or someone from the Aces should have been on here.
Yeah, I was before this came out, I was talking with friend of the pod, Evan Gualberto, and we were discussing how many players from the Connecticut Sun, how many should make the all-defensive teams. And we were kind of grappling with that because, the case could be made for 4 of them, and that's what happened. But honestly, I was leaning towards maybe 2 or 3 of them, 3 at the most. So yeah, it is quite surprising, but also not surprising. The case could have been made for it, and there's definitely you were talking about Alicia Gray, if we're going to be biased here, I'll go forward and say Beck Allen because her defense was stellar. Like, of course, I'm not upset or anything. But yeah, like there's also, I know there was a bit of a conversation around Natasha Cloud as well. I know Mike Tibble like came out with his tweet and was like, who are these voters? Why aren't they voting for Natasha Cloud? And, you know, talking about the disrespect. But honestly, to me, this just tells me how much defensive talent there is in the WNBA. And like, I'm not gonna throw a fuss or anything over these lists. I think these lists are just fine. They're not outrageous.
Some people were very mad. Like when they first came out, people were distraught that one, the Sun had 4 players. I think some people were very mad that Brianna Stewart made the list. There were just people who were very mad. People were very mad that Asia Wilson didn't make the list. Some people were very mad, not even Wings fans specifically, like they were just mad that Alicia Gray didn't make it. I'm like, I get why. Like I understand, like she had an inconsistent season. Like she was good, but it wasn't like all defense great to me at least. But I don't know. I find it hard to get too worked up about it, but I mean, as long as Sylvia Fowles made it, I'm fine. And I knew she would, exactly. So it's fine.
Yeah, I think there's a good discussion there with whether narratives and, you know, things like that. How do you balance that with these awards? And so I would say it's okay overall. Obviously, it's all subjective. Like people are always going to think their opinion is, you know, what it should be over someone else's. So there's always going to be conversations. No one's ever going to be 100% happy with any of these lists. But we move forward with that because that's what we need to do. These are the final awards. If you don't like it, get a media vote. I don't know what to tell you.
Wow, my goodness, just putting it down. Just, hey, you just do something about it, I guess.
I'm kidding, mostly.